This was not a profile in courage by Lamar. And I'm a little surprised, not totally, but I keep thinking this will be the most significant vote he makes in his career and is one of the last votes he'll make. And obviously he's not standing for re-election, he's standing down. And I think it's kind of a sad end note for his career.
Okay, so you disagree with him, but why isn't it a profile?
Because
you disagree with him?
No. I think if
he's not, hang on, he's not standing for re-election.
That's right.
He's not a MAGA hat wearing Trump supporter. He's a longtime public servant. He was the governor of Tennessee. He was the education secretary under Bush 41. He worked with you in the White House prior to that. And he just gave a very principled statement saying, I disagree with the president's behavior. He has no political reasons to do anything other than his conscience. And you don't think that's a vote of courage. And he's going to be criticized by people on this station and all over the media. I think it's a huge vote of courage, stand of courage on his part. He's going to get eviscerated by people like you.
And it's a cover-up. That's what the Senate has now done. They have covered up what the President of the United States has done in his grievous action when they had the ability to find out more and reach a bipartisan, as it were, decision if we could hear from the witnesses, if Mr. Bolton could come in and tell us, is there anything else there? No, maybe it would be exonerating. This is a cover-up, plain and simple. And there has been no attempt throughout this proceeding by the Republicans in this Senate of the United States, the so-called world's greatest deliberative body, which we've now known, we now can see how deliberative it is, that we have seen now a really shameful and an episode in our history that is going to redound for many, many years, particularly because of the Dershowitz Catechism for the Cult of Trump. That is an astonishing assertion that Dershowitz made about what the president can do.
What many are calling, some of the House managers are calling king-like demands of power.
Yeah, king-like, dictator-like, autocrat-like. It's no different really than the kind of situation that Putin has or Kim Jong-un has or any other autocratic leader. I mean, he has now officially said, Dershowitz said it on his behalf, if Trump does it, it's not illegal. And that is the place he's been wishing he could arrive since the moment he got to be president.
And you're quoting Nixon's infamous interview. Of course, he said that after being run out of office.
Exactly. And, this has been a very steady course. And I am completely with Chris that we are at a moment of unimaginable peril. I was just saying to Chris that I'm thinking of, say, the 200 people who Trump hates most, many of which come through this building a lot of the time, none of whom are safe if Trump is reelected. And I mean literally safe. And it's easy for me to imagine, I first started saying this in 2016 and people laughed at me, it's easy for me to imagine that this show can't happen after Trump is reelected. I mean, all you need to do is look at what happens in countries run by autocratic leaders, and all of that is very, very likely to happen if Trump is reelected.
I want to respond to that because I feel the tug of that kind of feeling sometimes. It's also worth remembering, and this is a line that Ben Wittes has used about malevolence tempered by incompetence. I mean, one of the reasons we're here is because the president couldn't fire his own ambassador. I mean, we know from the record, from Lev Parnas, from Rudy Giuliani texts, that he said it was almost comical. The president was trying to get rid of Yovanovitch. They kept firing her 4 times, and someone was not executing the order. It took him months. In fact, think about
I just want to, because you both laid out, when you say it, it's compelling. Some people might get scared. When you say it, it's like, wait, is he Darth Vader or is he like the worst stormtrooper?
But this Senate has no John McCain. There is no John McCain.
That's it.
The last time we had a tough vote here where Republicans did buck the president was health care. It was a middle-of-the-night moment. I'm sure a lot of our viewers can remember what that picture looks like of McCain down on the Senate floor with his thumb down. That was a surprise to Mitch McConnell. The men that were willing to stand up to President Trump, the ones who often did actually, John McCain, Bob Corker, Jeff Flake, they're gone. Okay, and the reality as to why they are gone is that they bucked this president, and Republican voters said, no way, we don't want to put up with it. Obviously, in the case of McCain, it was a tragic loss. That was a different scenario. However, that underlying reality that made bucking this Republican president politically impossible for all of these Republicans is why this is playing out the way it's playing out, and why what Michael Steele was just talking through is true. And, you know, our reporting, I don't want to get beyond our reporting. There are several Republicans who are still keeping this close to the vest as they watch the process play out. But right now, we can't find that fourth vote. There is nobody that we can see right now willing to go down to the floor and put their thumb down. What we thought might be a possibility would be that they would get together behind the scenes and they would essentially all jump together, basically to protect themselves from that dynamic. And that is what has not happened standing here today, what we think is going to be a day before this witness vote is set to happen.
I think for the majority of Americans who have watched this process unfold and are living in reality, and Lamar Alexander did actually acknowledge that reality, which is that the president did do something wrong, and that is important. We shouldn't just gloss that over. But I think for that majority of Americans, what we're witnessing tonight is really a capstone in a just total collapse of faith in American institutions. I think if you're an American who believes the evidence that the House managers laid out, you have to be thinking to yourself tonight, I need to get myself and everybody on my block and everybody in my family to a poll.
Charlie, talk about the dynamic that is in the backdrop of every conversation we're having here in this room, the era of submissive office holders.
No, it's interesting that you would use that phrase, because I would describe what's going to happen over the next 48 hours as an extraordinary act of self-abasement on the part of Republican senators who could have finessed this in a very different way. And, you know, Mitch McConnell really is now betting the United States Senate on Trump and Trumpism. And I think that he's going to pay a tremendous price tag for it.
Is President Trump going to be reelected?
Yes. I think he will be.
I think he will be.
Yes. You think he will be?
Yes, I do.
Wow.
Very interesting.
Super interesting.
If you're Team Trump watching that, you're feeling pretty good.
Well,
you're saying, those are my people. If you're trying to remove President Trump, you're saying, I got some work to do.